The entire first 6 months of this year have been a journey. I've been learning a lot about this invisible engine that keeps me striving and striving and striving and never arriving at how I want to feel or be or get to the pinnacle or the peak. Maybe you can relate. You perform to earn your worth or your rates or your friends or your family or your place at the table or your right to take up space. But all that proving just kind of backfires and ends up leaving us very empty. It doesn't actually get us anything. In fact, in my experience, it usually blocks the very thing that we are trying to gain: the work, the connection, the ease, the relationship. It's actually on the other side of the fact that there is nothing to prove that we're going to find a little bit more openness and a little bit more relief. So, just like last week's episode, I am genuinely in this one with you. I have some personal stories woven in here, and I'm sharing what I've been working on and working through as I learn that having nothing to prove is not about lowering the bar or my standards. It's just simply offering myself the freedom to be and to do my very best. And the second that we surrender and realize that there is nothing to prove, that is usually the moment that the thing we need or the thing we are looking for arrives. Welcome to Small Business Casual, where business is personality packed, cozy, and your pets are part of the team photo. I'm Emily Aborn, small business copywriter, and I'm here to help you turn down the noise, clarify your message, and run a business that actually fits your life. All right. When I was just absolutely in it last month, a friend sent me this meme on Instagram by an account called Revive Your Roar. And I will include a link in the show notes. If you're watching the video, I will try to show you the meme. I will try to figure that fabulous technology out. We shall see. But the meme read, so it's this woman or little like a stick figure thing holding on to the edge of a cliff. And it says, I was holding on for dear life, but dear life was waiting for me to let go. And I tell you what, I needed that message in June again and again and again and again. And it kept showing up in different ways as a lesson for me. Even letting go for me, I'm like, well, how do I do that? Like, how can I strive for that? I will grasp at the very concept of letting it go. I will try to attain letting go. So this is where I'm coming to you from. And as I shared last week, my therapist's new favorite thing is to remind me that you do not need to deliver to deserve. So that's kind of the launch pad for this episode. What if there is nothing to prove? And now, of course, I love stories. So we're going to do a little backstory. So in March, okay, so to give you the timeline, it was really like March through early June. And my business was just like wacky pants. It got weird. Okay. Like the kind of weird that's only ever happened to me one other time. But this time my brain was like, nope, we are going into full on existential crisis mode. And I wasn't really seeing like the money I needed to come in as much as the money was going out. And it was highly disturbing. Okay. At the same time, I found myself also in need of a new vehicle. And not new. I bought a used, but still I needed a new vehicle. I had just paid my annual taxes. I was getting ready to pay my quarterly taxes. I took out a big chunk of money to be able to pay cash for this vehicle. And my little business bank account, though, it was not pleased. It was not pleased, I tell you. So I sat there doing what I could to just kind of like, okay, Emily, this is just a slow patch. Like we just have to wait it out. But it went on for months and months and months. So during that time, I'm spiraling. I'm listening to this podcast called For the Love of It with Jen Hatmaker. Some of you may have heard of it. And she had on a guest named James Thornton. Now, if you don't, you probably know Kevin, but if you don't know Kevin, He is a influencer on Instagram who essentially got popular online by sharing like his church going horror stories from the 90s. And I personally relate to so much of the things that he shares. In fact, a lot of it is like beyond eerily similar. Perhaps there was the same curriculum being followed. I'm not quite sure. But so I follow him and I find him so funny. He recently read a memoir I have not read, but anyway, that's what he was talking to Jen Hatmaker about on her podcast. So as he got into talking about his actual like writing process for the memoir, he shared that it kind of took him back to a moment when he was or some stuff he did when he was younger. When he was younger, he so badly wanted to succeed. And in doing so, he unknowingly kind of like took that energy out into the world as a young person and as an adult. And as somebody trying to like find their identity, he found he was always trying to prove himself. He felt his identity was in proving himself, proving this about himself. Okay. So he wanted to prove that he was someone, like somebody worth paying attention to, somebody worth reading, somebody worth laughing, and just someone. He was trying to find this identity. So when he started writing his first book, he said that inner voice came flooding back through loud and clear. Like, why would anyone want to read this? Why am I even writing this? Why are you even bothering? Who are you to do X, Y, Z? And he said that when he heard that, it was blocking his writing. And it was just like not coming through natural, not coming through authentically, not coming through truly. And so he asked himself this question. He dropped all that. He said, after he kind of caught on to what was happening, he dropped it and he said, what if there is nothing to prove? What if there was nothing to prove? And when he continuously grounded himself back to that question, the writing started to become more easy. His creating started to be more natural and honest and authentic. And I tell you what, I have been sitting with that question for several weeks now. What if there is nothing to prove? So I'm sitting with that. I'm still riding out this slow patch in my business. And I also have two other situations that kind of came up at this time where I was like, oh my God, same kind of reflection moment. So this is a simple one and it seems like really silly on the surface. But my husband took my car and when he came back from running errands, he had filled up my gas tank. Now this is the way it kind of works in our house. So we both are business owners and we have our separate business accounts and our business expenses. But when it comes to our household stuff, we pay ourselves and we pool our money for the household expenses together. So it's kind of like, in my household, no one person is a breadwinner. It's pretty even Steven most years. Okay. So that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to keep your business and your personal separate and pay yourself from your business and pay your personal expenses from there. So that's how we do it. So usually I'm a pretty equal contributor and an expense that is his is mine. An expense that is mine is ours. And it's all happy-go-lucky, right? But during that time, I was not feeling like such an equal contributor. In fact, I felt like the broken wheel that was in dire need of grease and cash. And this has kind of been honestly how it's been the past 6 months. I've needed a lot of things. I've been going through. So when my car came back full with a full gas tank, I was over the moon, but I was also a little bit panicky. I was like, oh my God, I should be doing more right now. How can I make this work? This isn't fair. This isn't equal. I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. He's carrying the whole load. Like, my brain was just like, wee. And don't worry, I did say thank you outwardly to him. This is just what my brain was doing inwardly. Okay. And I used that as a moment. Like that was like a moment for me when I said, oh, this is a what if there is nothing to prove moment. This is just, Emily, sometimes we go through things in our lives, in our business. What if there is nothing to prove? What if this doesn't mean anything about you or your worth or the fact that you're not right? What if there's nothing to prove? So second instance was when my nephew, Henry, Oh my God, he's the cutest thing. He was born last month. And he was born on a Sunday. So my plan, my perfect little plan was to take Monday off so that I could go see him in the hospital, because that's what I did with my niece. And that is what a good auntie does. That is what the best auntie and the best sister and the best sister-in-law does. The best. They visit their nieces and nephews in the hospital the very second they possibly can. And if they're not there first, they are a close second. So I moved my entire schedule around to head up there. And then, like things do with newborns, things changed. He had a little like scare overnight with his blood sugar. And my brother informed me that he was going to actually be in the ICU all day Monday because they wanted to make sure he was okay. And they wouldn't be able to have visitors hold him. So I couldn't go until later in the week when they were at home, which meant I had to wait all the way until the weekend, which in my mind was like, well, I can't go, I've got to work on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And since I have to wait till the weekend, I'm late and I'm bad. And what are they going to think? And what kind of auntie am I? Like I'm letting my brother down and my sister-in-law down and my new nephew down. Like, you hear how silly all this is. I hope you do. It is total and utter poppycock. But that question popped into my head again to save the day. Emily, what if there is nothing to prove? Like, first of all, I hate to break it to you, Em, but your week-old nephew is not going to remember that first visit with him. But also with my brother and with my sister-in-law, what if there is nothing to prove? What if my worth isn't tied to delivering, helping, giving all the time, being the first one there, being there, doing, right? So let me just tell you, June, like I said, it was a very trying month for many, many reasons. And I actually ended up finding myself needing to lean on my husband and my friends. And I had to kind of just like give up and wave my white flag of surrender and be like, I've got nothing left. And a whole lot more. So sorry, I'm getting emotional because it was a hard month. So I had to keep coming back to that question time and time and time again. Like, Emily, there are no expectation. Like, what if there is nothing to prove? What if the expectation that you think is out there is just one that you are placing on yourself? So we're going to get into this from a business and creative perspective too. What if there is nothing to prove as a writer, as a podcaster, as a business owner, as a friend, as a partner, as a collaborator, as a service provider, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Because I know that when I ask myself this question, it has really helped to release this tight grip on my body, that inner motor that is just pushing and pushing and pushing me past my limits and capacity, and this thing telling me like, you have to show up or else, right? So what would it change for you? How might it make you feel differently if you took that question for yourself? If you said, what if there is nothing to prove? What would it look like for us if we believed that there was nothing to prove? Now, many of us are doing this, okay? Some unknowingly and some knowingly. We are in some sort of version of like performing, because if we perform, then we're worth it. We can do it. We belong here. We're the good one. We're capable. We deserve. We're this, that, whatever the thing is. But what if you don't actually have to hustle or overwork or over explain or always be responsible or vigilant or justifying what you're doing to deserve, to be? You don't have to deliver to deserve. Go back to my therapist's words and take them for yourself. And if we look at Kevin's example, the striving to prove was the very thing that was throwing a wrench in it all. Proving made his writing and his work, and it all made it feel stiff and performative. Releasing it and saying, what if there's nothing to prove? That's what made it honest and authentic and true. So I love this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. Our capacity to make peace with another person and with the world depends very much on our capacity to make peace with ourselves. Your best writing, your best client work, it all happens when you are not auditioning for approval. So I want to give you one more example, if that's okay. I was on my way to meet a ton of people in June, and it was like this sheer and utter, some of them I'd met, some of them I didn't know, but I didn't know any of them well. And it was like the sheer and utter panic about, oh my God, what would they think of me? And just wanting to be like kind of like almost like everybody's best friend. I mean, I was nervous to tears about what these people would think, because here's the thing, I'm not very impressive or flashy or shiny. Like my idea of like being flashy is like, oh look, my earrings match my shirt. I was trying to think of how I could present myself in this like interesting and exciting and like maybe a little bit more curated way. What if they what if they think this about me? What if they think I'm boring? What if they think I'm too much? What if they think I'm not enough? What if I'm not a shiny enough object, right? Like, where's my mask? Because I'm going to be needing it. Now, on the contrast, I have a lot of real friends and I have a lot of family in my life, and quite frankly, I think those people know that I'm quite boring and dull and uninteresting, and they know that I'm quirky and I'm a little hot messed up as all get out. And those people, there is nothing to prove with them. They will meet me on my shittiest of days and they will not judge me for it. And as a result, when I am with them, I feel more, I can take the mask off. I feel free and I feel easy and I feel real and, you know, somewhat fun. I like to think sometimes. But I feel far more at ease and creative and carefree. And that is the goal. That is what I want for my life, not this feeling like there is something to prove. Now, with this instance, it was a matter of letting go of that narrative. Like there is nothing to prove. It wasn't about, you know, oh, that's the wrong group of people to be part of. It was about not having anything to prove. Now, having nothing to prove is not about giving up. It's not about lowering your standard. It's not a loss. It is the exact thing that we want to be more of. We want more love. We want more appreciation. We want more respect and deserving, but we want it for the real us. We want it for without having to audition a song and a freaking dance for it, right? So here's how I've been working on this, in case this is at all helpful for you. Number one is letting go and surrendering and not holding on to this death like grip of the concept of letting go. So if you are into meditation or journaling, maybe that's a great place to kind of work on it. But I think that even just kind of like for me, it's even sometimes like when I'm focusing on my feet on a walk and I just imagine letting go. Or I take 4 deep breaths in and 8 deep breaths out, and I just imagine letting go. I imagine letting go of this need to prove, like each and every time the earth comes up to meet my feet, right? Like the earth's got me. I don't need to prove anything. Okay. This has helped me to continuously focus on releasing the grip of having to earn or to control or to prove. And believe me, I am so far from there, like it hurts. But I'm working on it every single day. And as that feeling pops up and rears its head, I go back to the question that Kevin asked on that podcast that has been for me just something wonderful to meditate on. What if there is nothing to prove? Another one you can add to that, very similar, if that one doesn't feel right to you, what if there was no problem to solve? What if there is no problem to solve? This is not a one and done. This urge comes back probably, you know, once a week. But the practice is really catching it and softening and like not banishing it forever. But if you can relate to any of this, try catching yourself this week. Find those little instances. They could be tiny. Just try for a week. Catch yourself. Notice where you are performing or feel like you need to perform instead of just being, whether it be with client calls or with family or with friends or in a networking situation. Catch yourself. That's step one. Awareness, as they say, is key. Once you've spotted the pattern, try reminding yourself before you go to the meeting. Okay. Like before you know the thing is about to happen, remind yourself, whether it's like a networking event again, or a meeting, or it's an occasion like a group celebration, or you're sending a pitch, just remind yourself, what if there is nothing to prove? There is nothing to prove. And then you just get to kind of like loosen that up just a tiny bit. It takes so long, right? But just loosen it up a little bit and just show up. Just show up. What if there is nothing to prove? Just show up. Going back to last week, I do think that this whole concept goes hand in hand with receiving. So keep on practicing that receiving. Practice receiving help. Practice saying thank you. The compliments that you might normally wave off, like, chances are that that's something you need to prove too. Like, oh, I'm humble. I'm not the kind of person who takes a compliment, right? So let somebody fill your gas tank. Take the help. Let them carry the groceries in, right? Take the compliment. Go back to receiving and doing so with an open heart and open hand. And then ask Kevin's question when it comes to your own life and your own work. If you had nothing, ask it in a big way. If you had nothing to prove, what would you be doing? What would you be making? What would you be writing? What would you be saying? What would you be doing? What if you had nothing to prove? What would you do? I just want to know. So the other thing I want to say is while we all have to go into situations where it's like that fear of judgment of others is real. And the stakes might be high, right? But I would encourage you to find and spend the majority of your time with the people you don't have to perform for, the people and the places who make your whole body just settle. So for me, I've decided that the second half of my year is really just focused on that. Like, I am finding places and people I do not have to perform with, places I instantly feel that there is nothing to prove. So hopefully my little lesson from June helps you this month and going forward. And I just want to leave you with a reminder, like, we do not need to perform. We do not need to prove. We do not need to earn to deserve to be. And on that note, I have one more bonus episode for you, and then I will see you in August. And oh my goodness, summer is just flying by, I tell you what. All right. See you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Small Business Casual. If you want more business advice that's a little quirky, not too buttoned up, one less accessory, and just right, visit my website, emilyaborn.com, and connect with me over on Instagram @EmilyAborn. I'll be here, cozy slippers in hand, to help you design a business you love.